Winter is coming.
Lady. Guys, we just in the hills.
Is what I would be saying if we were talking about Game of Thrones, but we're not. Today we're going to be talking about The Forever Winter, a game that I have a love and hate relationship with. I think the game is good. I think it has a lot of neat ideas, but I think in its current state, it may kill itself off early. So without further ado, let's dive into the world of Forever Winter.
Mission failed. We'll get them next time.
So as you can see, the Forever Winter is honestly pretty unforgiving, especially when the game presents itself as a looter shooter. You're expecting a little bit of a softer entry, but this game does not hold your hand in any regard. You'll notice almost immediately that any combat that you initiate will get you killed. And if you shoot an enemy from far away, the entire zone will be alerted immediately to your position. Or worse, you'll shoot an enemy from far away and the entire zone will be alerted to your presence, and then you'll be trying to sit in an area too long waiting for a patrol to pass, and ultimately the AI will just adjust its pattern and come find you. And that leads me into my first topic of this video, which is the gameplay. So this game is based a lot more on finding good routes quickly and looting those areas quickly and making it through the region, and less about winning gunfights. Gunfights should be your absolute last resort. If you think you're going to win too many gunfights in this game, you'll be sadly mistaken. If you have to engage enemies, players are rewarded for a well-placed headshot, and there's some nice audible feedback when you get a headshot and a good kill cue. It's kind of like a little ding. To gain experience for your character, you loot and get a diverse amount of items while extracting in a pretty good time frame. Kills tend to offer very little experience, and I think that is actually helpful because it reinforces the nature of the game to not be about the fighting, but more so about the looting and the scavenging, because that's what you are. You're a scav. So now let's talk about characters and world building. Currently, the game offers several class-specific characters that each have their own advantages. However, with the current state of the game, or just maybe due to my own lack of player skill, a lot of the characters don't seem to be viable options if you intend on actually extracting. The first region offers a very stark atmosphere. What the world has become in the game's mythos. You're greeted by the stark remains of an old metropolis, and directly beneath it, armored mechs rage in battle with ground forces engaging in the distance. It's really a beautiful way to set the tone and remind the player of how small they are in this world and in this universe. The hub world, known as the Innards, is very mysterious and leaves a lot of unanswered questions about the world itself. The only things that immediately apparent are that water is the lifeblood of the colony, and that the omni-sized blessing is the last monolith keeping humanity together. Now let's talk about performance and graphical design. The game is in early access, and initial settings give the game a pretty grainy appearance, but with some tweaks, it becomes pretty playable. Although I would recommend a higher end graphics card if possible, as optimization in this game seems to be in the early works, but devs are pretty quick to respond to any bugs or glitches. I think the character designs in this game are really nice for the most part, although I wish we could get more of a sneak peek into their personalities and backstories. They only ever speak occasionally in missions, and it's usually just generic banter that doesn't reveal a whole lot. But then again, I guess they technically shouldn't be talking so much, since they're supposed to be scavenging, supposed to be, keeping their head low and keeping sound to a minimum as they try to traverse the pretty hazardous landscape. Aside from a few obvious things that'll pop up in an early access game, I think the main issue with the performance that I've been experiencing is just a bit of frame skipping. When you get detected by enemy forces, it's almost like immediately once they get your presence, it's like the game reacts and it kind of spins up and spawns up more enemies, and in that you get a little bit of frame skipping, and sometimes it can get you killed because it's really jarring when it happens and you're not really sure what's happening. You're not sure if you're getting shot at first or if it's your game, and then next thing you know, you're dead. So back to my gameplay here. I'm basically just trying to give you guys an idea of like what looting like is in this game, and to be honest, I mean, it's pretty satisfying to get stuff. It's just actually getting the stuff that's pretty annoying. Because as you can see, like, I'm given all this health, I'm given all these different ways to get around the map, I'm given weapons. But if you notice, I'm hiding a lot. And while I do think that's a cool game mechanic, not being able to defend myself in any scenario, because in the event that I fire back or do anything to alert the enemy presence, I'm dead. It just kind of gets stale after a while, especially when you work really hard to learn patrols and get a good idea of shot placement and things like that. It feels kind of wasted when you get in situations like this where I'm having to hunker down, hide behind this mech, because there's literally nothing that I can do. And I say literally nothing, but I mean, doesn't seem to be any rocket launchers or grenades in the game, at least not at the point where I'm at, or at the point that I've been able to get at with other people and playing several hours of the game. It's really not too many options for you to take this thing down. I think some players have tried, but I'm not sure what the actual outcome has been on that. But yeah, as you can see, like, I'm just having to hide and crawl, trying to get away from this guy because he hears me somehow, or he's alerted to my presence. And that's another thing about this game too. Like, the AI is like super sensitive, and I know I may be being harsh because it's an early access game, but at a point when the AI seems to be able to smell you and there's no indicators of like what you're doing that's picking them up, no vibrations near your HUD to show that you're making a lot of noise or anything that just indicates that, hey, like, you're not doing a good job of being a scav, other than you randomly getting turned on by enemies, is kind of frustrating. So now I'm bobbing and weaving, trying to get back over here. I'm playing the game in the spirit of being a scav. I am sticking it out, toughing it out. I just need to grab some water that I know is down here and get past this, cabal of zombies. And unfortunately for me, the zombies tend to always turn on me no matter what. It doesn't matter how slow I move, it doesn't matter what I do to let them by. One of them either picks up my scent on the wind or something, or they hear me drop down from a ledge. I don't know. I think I'm praying pretty cautiously here, and I can't see any reason why they would turn on me. But as you'll see, I'm gonna make my way in here and somehow, some way, get past them, but end up having to deal with some of their brethren who, again, are not visible until the last moment. Because I think that's the biggest thing hurting this game right now, is the random spawning of enemies. Because you will be looking in a direction, and I'm not sure if it's like a short render distance issue or if it's me just literally being bad. But I've had this happen in several games where I'm just sitting there doing my due diligence. I'm sneaking through. I'm picking everything I need to correctly. I've got a pretty diverse group of loot. I got stuff that I want, stuff that I need, especially water. Since, as you saw in the beginning, that's a feature of the game. If you run out of water, you're given one chance to fight for your hub and give yourself another day to go get more water before you lose all your inventory, which I think is a fantastic system. It really does give some sense of like realness and alertness to the situation you're in. But at the same time, if you're gonna have something like that, at least let the fight be somewhat fair. I mean, I saw 3 of those guys in front of me. I'm getting headshots, and then out of nowhere I get flanked and basically walked down on in 3 or 4 bullets. And that's frustrating because it's, I get like you want to make this super immersive experience. You have to play every day, get some water every day. And normally it doesn't actually take that long to get water or to find water, especially once you play a region a couple times and you find some decent spawn points. The problem is getting the water out. All it takes is one misstep, one mishap, and the water that took you maybe 10, 15 minutes to get, and anything else you need, any broken weapon parts, any consumables, all that stuff, you can't get to it. Like right here is a perfect example. If I were to run across here right now in a way that would have alerted that guy, all the progress I made just now would have been gone. But I know from playing so much that he would only come over there if I like aimed at him too long, or if I was just a hair over, just a pixel over. I may have alerted his cone of vision, which again still seems arbitrary from my playthrough. And here I am trying to get up a ledge. I think terrain traversal is something they really need to work on. If I have to take these crazy routes to get through, and yeah, this is exactly what I'm talking about. So this guy has no reason to be on me, like literally no reason. I've made zero noise. He comes out of nowhere, and now that I've shot him, he's gonna have like 20 people spawn on me. Yep. And behind me, look at that. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This is what makes the game not fun. This is what makes the game so frustrating. So these are my final thoughts on the Forever Winter. I think the game is a very, very great concept, and it's obviously in its early stages. And honestly, I think with a little bit more lore and just like exigence around the world, it would really make for a better experience, especially for me. Like, I'm not a huge fan of the like super harsh penalties in the game, but chasing the lore would give me something to keep diving in for, and I think that would be something to keep the player base. Second thing that I wanted to bring up was the fact that enemies are way, 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 way too unpredictable, in my opinion. I consider this a pretty fair challenge, but there are a lot of times where I've died purely to just either random spawns or just weird little things that seem to trigger enemy alertness that don't really give any indication of what I did or what I'm doing. Like if they came out with something that said, you know, hey, like if you reload within the vicinity of an enemy, they'll hear you, or if you do all these different things, that they'll hear you. But there's no indicators right now of what alerts things and what doesn't, other than shooting bullets, which, as you just saw, like I didn't shoot any bullets until I literally had to. But shooting a bullet in this game essentially equates to losing the game or losing the mission, unless you've got like a lot of extra help with you to clear whatever horde comes after you. But sometimes you'll shoot like at one enemy faction, and then another random enemy faction will third party you in that fight. So it's not like one of those things where you can clear out one group and then get away from the other. You just get killed by everyone, just zeroes in on you if you engage at all. And I don't think that is something that will sustain people for a long time, especially if you want to keep like casuals. I'm a filthy casual, but if you want to keep casual people in this game, that type of stuff is frustrating, and it's just not gonna last. And then speaking again to that point, I think that really hurts the mission structure, that the penalty for engaging at all is so harsh, because it almost like, in one way, it does require like for you to have more people and to, you know, find friends to play the game with you and things like that, or just collaborate with other people online. But at the end of the day, it's like you're always kind of queuing up to see like who's gonna, you know, sacrifice themselves for the mission, because at some point, unless you have a perfect run, which I have definitely had a few, I wasn't able to record any for this video, but I had a few runs where like me and a buddy and maybe a random person were able to get through undetected, hiding, staying still, staying quiet, get everything we need, hit extraction. And it's so satisfying when you're able to do it. But again, it's like, it seems like that was only possible when I was playing with people. It seemed like every time I went on solo runs, and maybe the character that I'm using isn't fast enough, or using characters that are too slow and not able to get out of line of sight very quickly, or that have a large hitbox or presence. Again, I don't really know the technical aspects of the game and what is programmed how, but it does seem to be very structured around you having people to either sacrifice themselves or, give different aggro. Like spreading aggro out through the team seems to be something that has to be there, at least as the game currently stands, and as I've made this video, that seems to be the case. Don't know if that'll ever be fixed, but I do think that it is something that needs to be addressed, because there are going to be people who want to play by themselves a lot more and progress in the game, and if you have to be with people to like divert aggro to progress through the game and unlock a lot of the stuff inside the innards, which requires pretty high cost of water considering how long a mission can take when you're doing a lot of hiding and not a lot of actionable things to get to where you need to go. It can be tricky. And so all in all, I think this game just has so much potential, like honestly an insane amount of potential. Like I think this game could replace games like DayZ or Rust even, with just proper execution, and execution is not here. I do think that this game is a good investment long term. Like I wouldn't say not to buy this game, but I'm just saying, I'm making this review basically that if you buy this game expecting it to be, this game where you go in there with a couple buddies and you guys just duke it out with zombies and duke it out with mechs all day, that's not what the game is. This game is purely about being a scavenger. You are a dirty little rat. you are supposed to get your ass down and hide and make sure you know routes, make sure you know where certain loot's gonna spawn. You're supposed to be on your P's and Q's about that area, and it's through trial and error that you find good routes, good spawn points for items, and you follow that religiously, and maybe, just maybe, you'll make it out alive. That's the game, and it's a fun gameplay loop for a while, but at a point it gets to where you just really want to press forward. You really want to have a little bit more fun, and the game just is not facilitating that. Even though they have little special events and special region modes or like, they have the different monsters and stuff that pop up. I'm not really sure what they're called, but they've got these crazy grotesque creatures that will pop out in these different events, and they're really cool to look at, and they're really cool encounters. That's something else I wish I had gotten footage of, but man, when it happens, it's cool. But since they're technically not killable yet, or just not really fleshed out yet, it just leaves a lot to be desired. And I can't make this video honestly and say this is like just the most amazing game ever with the current standing issues. Thanks guys for watching this video. If you like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, that'll be it. Mills out.